The book King Me by Devious, Chapter 6, 1996, The Year of Loss. My Aunt Lucy is knocking on the door. She comes in very upset. She has bad news.
Oh my God.
Unable to make sense of it in her head. They dad is dead, is what she mutters.
They daddy's dead.
My older sister's legs give way, and she falls, then screams,
No.
My mother gasps and says, Oh God. Then she asks my aunt, Are you saying Dwayne is dead? With a puzzled look on her face. Lucy, being so distraught, had not thought about what she had said. No, it's Daddy. He's dead. We believe Lucy had been talking about our father. But no, she meant our grandfather, Papa, had died. My first impression was one of confusion when I heard. I had a feeling of it not being somehow real. I calmly sat on the couch. I was like, how? He just got out of jail. Then, when my aunt said my grandfather, I began to cry. My grandparents lived down south. His funeral was a week away. My grandmother, Mama, paid my uncle to rent us a van so that he and my father could drive us down to the funeral. It was the longest drive I had ever been on. My uncle had just got a new tape by Biggie. It was Ready to Die. When everyone fell asleep and the songs that a kid shouldn't listen to, he would let it play. We'd listen to the album all the way there and back. By the time we got to Mississippi, without trying, I had memorized the whole thing. I hadn't seen Mama since I was around 5 or 6. She was standing in the driveway of a big brick house. She gave us all hugs and said how good it was to see us. My Aunt Lucy was already there. She had flown in a few days before. Mama always picked at you. I guess that just was her way. After we came back home to Illinois, my grandma had given me some of Papa's clothes. I wore one of his blue shirts to school when I came back. I guess I had a chip on my shoulder from before, since we had left south. I had gotten into trouble by my older cousin April. She said my dad was disappointed in me on the trip. I had a bad attitude the whole trip. My father didn't like that. I just was angry because I had never been to a funeral, and I never really wanted to go. In the lunch line, a boy asked me, Where's that shirt from?
Hey, yo, where's that shirt from?
I told my homeboy, his name was Little G, that the shirt was my grandfather's shirt.
My granddad's shirt, bro.
And he gave me props and said, Yo, that's cool. Pretty cool. Everybody sat down at the table with us. I didn't pay much attention to the chatter at the lunch table that day. They're playing and throwing cartons of milk around at the table. This kid named Juan, he sat across from me, clearly sees me unaware of the game that they're playing. As I stare off into space, he throws a carton of milk and gets my attention. I shove it back at him. My guess is he thought I wasn't when I did. It made him angry. He slung the carton of milk at me so hard that it hit me, and when it hit me, it opened up and got all over my grandfather's shirt. Before I knew it, I stood up and I headed around the table to where Juan was sitting. By the time I got there, he was already on his feet. I began to say, What the fuck? When out of Juan's mouth, I make out,
What the fuck you gonna do?
Now, all I heard him say was, Fuck your daddy's shirt. I swung as hard as I could. Juan was a skinny Mexican kid, and I was kind of fat then, so he fell, and I just started kicking him in his head. He muttered something. I didn't listen. One of the girls at the table began to scream my name.
Dwayne, stop!
My homeboy Little G walked up and grabbed me and began to say, Yo, chill.
Chill.
Juan lay on the floor bleeding from his mouth. My homeboy G and my homeboy Little G began to laugh. None of the teachers had seen us fighting, so we just stood there. I walked out of the lunchroom and went to the bathroom to wash the milk off my shirt. When Little G comes into the bathroom laughing, What the fuck was that, D? He exclaims. My grandpa's shirt, I barked at him. After that, I got into another fight in junior high. Now, On weekdays, my boy Little G, older brother, would come by G's mom's house and see his brother. He drove a big body pink Cadillac. His name was Ken. You see, Ken was a real OG. He had a baller-ass crib in Chicago, fat-ass pockets. Pretty girls always was trying to fuck him. Little G said his brother was a GD. That's a gangster disciple. He always carried guns and would give Lil G joints of bud to smoke with us. On Saturday, Lil G's pops played in a bowling league. So we'd go with him to a bowling alley just so that we could take his dad's car for rides around Aurora, stop us in some girl's house, and pick up some of our boys or something like that. But that day, however, Little G's pops, he had left without us. So G's brother Ken say, "Hey, you guys want me to drop you off?" And we were like, "Cool, fuck it, we'll go." But when we got into the car, G's brother told us that he had to make a stop on Lake Street. When Ken got out of the car, he told Lil G that there was a loaded pistol under the seat. G asked me if I wanted to see it. I said, yeah. G pulls out a big-ass .357 Magnum. This motherfucker will put a hole in a nigga for show, he says. I began to laugh in the back seat. Would you shoot a flake, I asked him. He said, hell yeah, he says. And he puts the gun back under the seat and says his brother is serving some hype. Soon, Ken arrives back and jumps in the car, and then we're off to the bowling alley. He drops us off at the front. We good, not too late to take off the car and drive. It had been a Sunday morning. My mom was making something to eat in the kitchen. Smells so good, I just go in and sit at the table. She greets me and says, "Have you heard the news?" "No." "What news?" I say. "Oh, your friend's older brother, Mom," Mom says. Mom and Little G's mom are good friends, so they always sitting on the front porch talking. Mom says Little G's mom told her last night her older son was killed. He was shot in the head by some gang members on the east side. I didn't say a thing. I knew somewhere my boy Little G must have been going crazy. I tried to imagine how he felt at that moment. I went into my room. I lay back down. I ain't feel so good. My stomach felt like I had been hit by Mike Tyson. I fell asleep on my bed, and then all of a sudden, bam! I'm hit in the chest. I jumped straight up out of my sleep. It was Little G. He's standing in the middle of my room. "Nigga, get the fuck up," he barked. "Get dressed," he says. "We gotta go." It's about dusk outside. I could make out from the blinds when I went out my window. I got dressed really quick. I knew things had changed. Then I could feel it in the air. I made it down the back of my stairs to find Little G, Big Cliff, and DJ in the basement of our apartment building smoking. G is rolling up a blunt and says, "Who do you think killed him, Little G?" Little G has gotten his hair curled like his brother Ken's now. Little G started telling us how he thinks his brother was set up by one of his friends. That bitch-ass nigga Tony was the one who murdered my brother. Him and that bitch was fucking Chantel. I bet they set him up so that him and that bitch could steal that dope, Lil G says. "Whoever killed my brother, we gonna kill them all," he exclaimed, as everybody in the room seconded the motion. I had once heard that the Deuces was cool with the Latin kings in town, that there was a girl who belonged to a Deuce who came and was fucking one of the kings. Well, then there's some party, a fight ensues, then that starts a rival gang war. I had just stepped into one with my friend's brother. We were all seemingly carefree kids until that summer. The worst thing I had ever done before was probably shoplift, cut class, smoke some weed. Our thing, it was menace to society. Is you down for the 187? You ain't down. Those were our favorite things to say to each other. I watched Scarface for the first time that summer. It was the craziest movie I had ever seen, but I fell in love with it. 1996.